is a Bramble Jam podcast. Hi, I'm Bran, and I am loving Lifetime Christmas movies.
I'm Dan, and I'm despising Lifetime Christmas movies.
I'm Alonzo, and I'm settling for Lifetime Christmas movies. And this
is the Deck the Hallmark podcast. Yes!
Oh, boy,
yes!
oh, boy.
Man, this is a day, everybody.
It's a day.
This is a day.
Monday.
Monday, indeed. The old second Monday of March. Or third?
Second. It's the second, yeah.
I don't know
It's the
where
8th
we are.
of March right now.
I can tell, Alonzo, you are getting ready for March Madness. I can see it in your eyes. You are just pumped. Getting that TiVo ready.
I was ready for Merry Madness, and Hallmark, it doesn't seem like they're doing it this year.
Wow.
What's going on with that?
Really dropping the ball on those Merry Madness.
Listen,
I need a bracket that when calls the heart is always going to win, and otherwise I just don't know what to do with myself.
what? So what? I know this makes me a bad fan of Hallmark, but I've never gotten into that, and I've never gotten into fantasy. I tried last year with fantasy, and by the second week, I fell off the wagon because I had a bad first week. And so I was like, I give up. What is the Merry Madness?
Well, I'm terrible at both, just so we're clear. So Merry Madness is this weird thing where you are picking to see what is going to be the most popular in each of the brackets. And there's like a Hallmark Channel bracket, a movies and mysteries bracket, like a drama and a movies now. It's all kind of moot and doesn't mean anything. But the thing is, like, you have to basically sort of pick what's going to be the most popular. But of course, by picking that thing, you are voting for that thing. So it's this weird snakehead eating the tail. And you basically have to sort of predict like what's going to go. And then you don't even know half the time because like you would think, oh, well, of course, everybody loves the CCB movies, but they don't always make it through. The only guarantee is that they'll throw one when calls a heart movie, and that sucker will go all the way to the top.
Man. That sounds awful.
It is. It's like so. Let me get it straight. Like I'm just gonna do a regular March Madness bracket here. Yeah. So we got the all the teams.
Yeah.
And instead of playing the games, is just based off of what name everybody likes the best. So like, I think Duke will win. Yeah. So everyone picks Duke, and we don't have to play the games.
Villanova, that has a nice ring to
I
it.
like that.
Bucknell, that sounds like a villain.
Yeah, that is truly Hallmark's version of.
And it really is Hallmark because you're kind of creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like if I vote for it and I get enough friends to vote for it, it'll happen. Whereas you and I can find the most Clemson basketball fans in the world, they're still not winning the NCAA tournament.
But how does it happen? Like, how does it happen at like the end? Like how do you win? Because eventually there'll be two people and they vote for the.
You do your whole bracket at the very beginning.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not like it's not like fantasy where you're doing along the way. And fantasy at least makes sense because then that's based on ratings.
Right.
So it deals with there's an outside phenomenon that votes on it. But literally this bracket is based entirely upon the people who are picking the bracket.
Oh my gosh.
It's bonkers.
But remember with fantasy last year, they ran into a bit of a pickle with the ratings because like Waltz won the overall ratings, but
If I Only Had Christmas won the
demo.
Yeah.
And so like they didn't know which one actually won.
Yeah, I never know. I mean, look, again, I'm terrible at both, so it is moot. So I've never gotten that far into the weeds. But
you did fill out the double-decker March Madness bracket 2 years ago, and
that's true.
Through 2 rounds, you were beating me. Now it didn't end well for you, but through 2 rounds, you were king of the crop there.
Yeah, but I think I might do better at those than I do, like, say, at Oscar picks, because I have absolutely no dog in the hunt and don't know anything. And I think sheer randomness often will carry the day. You know, the one time in college where every weekend I worked for the student newspaper, and the sports section would do their like weekend football picks. And then they would always compete with like local Nashville, like sports media people, like radio and newspaper folks. And then there would always be some weird third category. And like it would be members of the marching band or the mothers of the sports department or whatever. And they were getting their hinders handed to them. Like everybody was out picking them. So they thought, okay, we're going to get the arts and entertainment staff to do this because they don't know anything about football and that'll help our numbers out. 3 of us, myself included, got 10 out of 10 that weekend.
Yeah, you did.
Out of sheer like closing my eyes and pointing.
Yeah,
that's the way it should be.
It is. And don't sell yourself short on the Oscars. I think you're just blinded by your love of Jared Leto. I think that's what gets you in trouble.
Well, that's led me down many a blind alley. No, I mean, I went from caring too much about the Oscars to not caring about the Oscars at all.
Yeah.
But in either way, I'm a terrible prognosticator.
It's just 30 Seconds to Mars is so good. Like, how can he
be that bad an actor? Also, what does he have on all of the Oscar voters? Like, what does he have that makes them all vote for him?
He found out that they're all 30 Seconds to Mars fans, and they don't want that out. No one wants that out. That is my secret.
I always make the joke they like to honor most acting, and that's where somebody like Jared Leto really is in his prime.
Oh, he is killing it. That's true. There's actually one guy in a very small role in the movie we're reviewing today that also qualifies for the most acting as well, in my opinion. He really does act a lot.
Well, let's talk about that movie. It is Love at the Christmas Table, and it originally aired on Lifetime on November 25th, 2012. And it went a little something like this. Sam and Kat grew up together, spending most Christmas Eves with each other's families for the big Christmas Eve party. And we see them in present day, and Sam hadn't been home for a few years. We don't really know the reasons why there. And he's excited to catch up with Kat, excited to see her. She seems excited to see him. And the voiceover promises that this is going to be a big year. And as that happens, a ring box falls out of his jacket onto the floor and brings us to a flashback. And we see them sharing the highs and the lows of childhood together, each year getting together for Christmas. They start when they're 4 and they go from there. And eventually we see them at 18 and they spend the entire night laughing together. And at the end of the night, they're on the couch inching closer and closer until their pinkies are touching. I love a good pinky touch, and it's a wonderful evening together. And we see bits from the next few years, and they keep loving their time together. But again, it's just one night of the year. They're 22, and he's like, maybe I should move home, pause my life, hang out with you. And she's like, I am not a pause. You need to go, you need to take an internship, and you need to go for your dreams. And so he does do just that. 23, he doesn't come home for Christmas. 24, he comes home, and Kat's excited about it, but he brings home a girl, and Kat is devastated by this news that he has a girlfriend. So she grabs this guy at the party, and they leave. Next year, that guy is engaged, but not to Kat, but to somebody else. And so she's just having a very difficult time with this. Can't have Sam, can't even have this random guy at the party. Who can she have? And Sam does show up, no girl this time, and has big news. He is still with the girl, but he came all the way home to comfort Kat because she's sad about the engagement. And they even end up dancing this big dancing scene together. They get really close. They have this moment. Cut to next year. They're 26. He's telling her that he broke up with this girl, and they have a night of realizing that they don't really know everything about each other, despite the fact that they've known each other their entire lives. And they want to continue to get to know each other. They end up kissing, but she kind of acts weird and she leaves. The next year, she fakes sick, and they get in a fight over the phone, and they say some really awful things to one another, and that was Christmas. We see that he had a ring that he was getting ready to use to propose to her, but instead kind of brought up dead mom, and you never do that when you're getting ready to propose. It's finally present day. He has not been home for a few years. He still has that ring, and realizes that she's the one. But when they're talking to each other, she pulls out this ring box, and she starts talking about love, and then she goes off, and she says, "Good talking to you." So he's like, oh, man, she's going to go propose to somebody. But it wasn't for a guy. It was for her dad and this her aunt that they kind of had this party at. Not her actual aunt, because that would be weird. But he's like, you should get married. And so that's wonderful. And that aunt tells her, hey, you need to go see what old Sammy did down at the shop. So she goes down there and she sees that Sam has set up this amazing like cardboard fort thing showing all of these moments from their life together. And she goes back to the house, and Sam has gotten a nice talking to from his parents telling him, you should go for this, go for it. And so finally they meet back up at the house. The house is empty. There's lights everywhere, and he is underneath the table that they had met at as kids. She goes underneath. They tell each other that they love each other, and he finally gets down on his knee, proposes, and has a wonderful time, big party, and they make plans for the rest of their lives. And that, my friends, was love at the Christmas table. That's exactly right.
Wow, we did it.
Very excited to break this movie down. Can't wait to hear the thoughts. But first, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back here on Deck the Hallmark. We are back, everybody. We're back. Excited to break this one down. Really quick, in case you didn't hear the news, you can watch this episode and all the episodes moving forward on YouTube. So go over, subscribe, smash that subscribe button. Watch all the videos. We'll slowly kind of be throwing up some older interviews and whatnot that are no longer available on other platforms. We'll throw that up. And so go over there, YouTube. It's the Bramble Jam Podcast Network, Alonzo.
Thanks,
so you'll be able to watch like the Hallmark. Take the day off.
It took fewer than 3 hours of us announcing we were on YouTube for people to ask where the Tyler Hines interview was.
Yeah, so it's there, everybody.
So we're doing the best we can.
We have 100 interviews at this point. Yeah. So just give us some time.
Don't waste time on my nonsense. Give the people what they want.
That's right. Wait, you're not Tyler Hines?
Come out. Wait a minute.
This whole time I was under the impression.
We get that all the time.
Oh, believe you me. We're talking about love at the Christmas table. Very excited to break this movie down. I'm going to start with you, Alonzo, with the hot take segment. One, had you seen this movie before? And two, what do you think of it? Maybe your first viewing and this viewing. If you had seen it, if not, what do you think?
I had seen it before. I think the year that I started watching like all the Hallmark movies, then when they were done, I sort of was still needing. I was craving a fix, and I found this one. It was used to be.
We've all been there.
We have not. Yeah, we've not all been there.
I have been there.
Brand gets it.
Yeah.
And I was really charmed by it. I think there's a lot in this movie that is smart and is a cut above a lot of the sort of cookie cutter Hallmarky kind of stuff. I remember it was one of the first of these movies that acknowledged the existence of Christmas movies. Like there's that whole scene where they root through her VHS collection and are goofing on it, and I thought that was fun. And so watching it again, I was taken aback that like the first half to 2/3 of this movie is really legitimately terrific, I think, and works really well. And then it kind of tries to cash some checks that it hasn't written, and I think it gets it goes into some places where like, whoa, we have not set up this moment, like this big argument they have where he talks about the dead mother and everything.
That argument's wild.
We have not laid the groundwork. We don't know any of this. You're now heaving at her. I'm like, it would have been nice if we'd seen that earlier in the film. So I think it doesn't completely work, but I think this is the perfect example of a movie that should be remade because there's so much in it that's a good idea, but they don't quite nail the finish. And I think in other hands, with a few more drafts of this script, this could be something really special because there's a lot that does work here.
Yeah. Same boat, actually, Alonzo. When I saw this movie for the first time, I want to say it was 2015, 2016, when I also really got into Hallmark. And I think at that time it was streaming on Prime or something for free. And so I found it and I watched it and I was like, boy, this is special in this genre. Like it's really good. And I loved the telling of the story throughout the entire childhood. You know, they spend, the first 10 minutes or so getting you to age 18, which I felt like was a good amount of time. Like it wasn't over stuff. Like we weren't seeing every single 4, 5, 6, because at a certain point I don't care about it. But it was 10 minutes and it was really good. And then I felt like it was a well-paced movie. I felt like we were getting to know them at a good pace, keeping me engaged. And I loved it. And I think this is Danica's best Christmas movie. Yes. It was, before she was, over it. So it was great. It was it's just a different movie. I agree, Alonzo. I'd love for this, I don't know. I would like for this to be a trope where we see things over the course of a movie throughout the life of a couple. I think it's a really good way to tell a story, and I want to see more of it. So Hallmark or Lifetime or whoever, please do more of this. Love it for Bran.
This is one of the best one of these I've ever seen. And I don't even think it's very close. I would agree with you, Alonzo. The first 2/3 of this movie are terrific. Like the first 2/3 of this movie are like legitimately just great. It's just a fun time, super nostalgic, all the feels you need, tons of Christmas. Then they suffer from the fact that the movie's not long enough. That there are some big scenes in this movie in the last 20 or so minutes, 20, 25 minutes. And some of them, like Leah Thompson is great in this movie and gets to give some speeches that are great. The fight between the two of them is not an earned scene, and it really could have been with about 10 minutes more movie, in my opinion. So does it land the plane as a great film? No, but as a TV Christmas movie, man, this is good, guys. This is good. Like this is easily Danica McKellar's best work. I enjoyed the cast across the board. I got a ton of feels out of this movie. This is what, if they were like this all the time, I mean, good gracious. Like this is everything I want to see in one of these movies. I enjoyed myself a lot in this movie. Like,
did you like it?
I did. I liked the movie.
Whoa! Sound the horn! Sound the horn! Woo!
Like
the movie.
I thought it was fairly obvious from my opening line.
I just want you to say it.
I liked the movie. And in fact, aside from a few things here towards the end, I borderline loved the movie. Like I really understand. I understand like why people would watch this movie every year. Like it's a really fun made for TV movie.
Okay. Better or worse than Snow Bride?
I think as a whole, it works probably better than Snow Bride does. I think Snow Bride is a very fun, quirky, romantic comedy. Like this movie has funny moments, but from a Christmas perspective, this one works better than Snow Bride does. This and Snow Bride, Two Turtle Doves, Christmas at the Plaza, maybe like those are some of the ones that I think of when I think of, kind of better than average. This may be the best of them that I've seen. I'm trying to think of one that I've seen that's better.
I woke up this morning with a spring in my step, kind of thinking this might happen, and I am just thrilled that it finally.
What did I say to you? We were how far? The movie's was 90 minutes, the hour 29, 89 minutes, and we were about 52 minutes in, I think. And I looked at Brandon and said, "This is a good movie. Like this is just a good movie. There's nothing I contrary to popular belief, I give every movie a chance. Like I really do. I want them to be good. It's a better use of my time. But this movie really and then they got a little bit Lifetime-y melodramatic on us, and that's unfortunate. I think you could have gotten the cool Danica McKellar talking to Leah Thompson about being the only mom she's ever had. I think that scene still works without that argument. I think they put the argument in so they could do that cool scene. I think that scene works without the argument. I don't think you need that crazy nut argument where literally they just go for broke. And we'll talk about it in the Wait What. But also Rachel Lee Goldenberg directed this. She directed Unpregnant for HBO Max in 2020. Like, she's like a legit director, and you get some really cool shots in this movie. You get the kid is on the leg, just trying to just hold on like my kids do to me every night. And you get the shot of them just moving on the leg. You get like some behind the shoulder Michael Mann kind of shots. Like, you get some really not Christmas movie,
like laying in their own separate beds.
Yes.
But it's like they,
there's a lot of things that are done here that are well above the norm. And I think I can't believe how much I really did enjoy the movie. It's great. It's really good stuff.
Rachel Lee Goldenberg also did the Will Ferrell, Kristen Wiig.
Oh yeah,
movie Deadly Adoption, and the very underrated Valley Girl remake.
I didn't see that one, but Deadly Adoption was fun until it wasn't, and then it came back around as fun again. It was one of these movies that kind of keeps. But she's a filmmaker, man. Like, she knows what she's doing, and I thought she did a great job here.
But what did I say right when we were about to press play? I was like, Dan, I think
you might like this one.
You might like it.
And I was like, okay, if you say so. But we knew from the first time we saw Danica's face, the first time she pops from around that tree, we're like, this is prime Danica. Like, this is like, she is invested in what's going on here.
Spring in her step.
That's right. Yeah. And also, and I know we've been on this a while, we watched It Was Always You on Saturday, and we caught some flack for kind of our take on the movie. We caught some flack from our own fans who love us, and they did it lovingly. But the idea that we were upset that this guy swoops in and takes his brother's fiance. And the reason we were upset is because it didn't feel earned at all. Like, there was nothing that showcased that he's loved her all this time and that he and his brother have an interesting relationship. Whereas this movie does an outstanding job of showcasing this like lifelong love, that even though there were other partners and people, they were always meant to be together. And so it can be done right. It just didn't happen with that vehicle last Saturday, but it did happen in this movie back in 2012.
It was always you.
Mm-hmm.
It was always you. It's time for All the Feels. This part of the show we talk about what in this movie gave us those feels. Alonzo.
I agree with Dan mentioned there's a couple of big scenes with Leah Thompson in her study. There's the one where the Miss Havisham speech, where she talks to Leah Thompson about sort of why she's kind of put her life on hold and what that's sort of, basically trying to keep her from doing the same thing. And then later when Danica gives her the whole, "You were the only mom I've ever known." Like, those are really, like, those stand as genuine dramatic moments, and they're well written and they're well acted. I mean, this is a really well cast film because, you've got Danica McKellar, who I don't know if it's that she's less interested in the Hallmark movies or the Hallmark house style just sort of kind of puts a stick in you. But like, this movie, she feels a lot more loose and fun. And
she laughed at butt, which I can definitely relate to.
But then the dramatic moments I think land more too. Dustin Milligan has gone on to do Schitt's Creek and stuff. You've got Scott Patterson, you've got Brian Husky. So I mean, like, there's a terrific cast here. So I think those emotional moments land really well, and I think their big fight scene would have landed more if we had seen any indication of the stuff they're talking about. Sam is accusing her of basically like clinging to her father, keeping him from moving on with his life, keeping her from moving on with his life. And that's like a really good speech in a movie where we've seen any of that transpire. But since we haven't, like, it doesn't land as much. But yeah, and also I think I got relationship feels from Milligan and McKellar. Like, they have really great chemistry. The way that when they don't get along, when they do get along, I bought all of it. And it so often when we talk about Hallmark movies, there's that thing about like, well, they get together because it's the guy and the girl and they're supposed to, or maybe they should have just been friends, or they should have just been business partners. Like, you get the whole trajectory of them as people who grew up together and who figure out that they are each other's, person.
Absolutely. Agree 100%. Yeah. I will say, I'm going to go just stick to Christmas feels. And I'll say I loved watching, we went back almost 30 years and we see the house EB, I think is her name, and
EB,
it's just one like Merry Christmas sign. And then with each year that passes, there's more and more of the Christmas stuff added to the outside, but also the inside. And obviously that comes from a quite the painful memory for her. The reason why the clock stopped on Christmas Eve for her, which was a real downer. But if you just think of it as, hey, she's getting more and more Christmas decorations each year, I love that.
If you don't think of the decades of therapy she needs,
that's exactly
awesome.
right. That's exactly right. So yeah, take the trauma out of it. Give me the Christmas lights. I loved it. So it was fun to watch her, the Christmas decor, really grow, because when they start the movie, you see it, in present day, and it's just like Christmas threw up, and then you go back 30 years and it's not that. So it's fun to watch it evolve over the course of the movie. Dan?
Yeah, so the two scenes with Leah Thompson and Danica McKellar in that study are both wonderful. Alonzo nailed it. I'm going to go with kids' table feels, though. My grandfather passed away in 2015. My grandmother has dementia and is in a memory unit home now, but up until 2 years ago, maybe 3, it'll be 3 this year, every Christmas Eve was at my grandma's house or at my parents' house with my grandma there, the entire extended family present. And I'm 37 years old. I never graduated from the kids' table. I'm still there now. My brother is still there with our wives, still there, right? Because no one passed away aside from my grandfather. So what if they can't make room? They're not going to get a bigger table. So I'm still there. And then I got some cousins who are like teenagers, and we're all just eating together. And it's a blast. And it is just not like I felt like they are growing older and they are still at that kids' table and they are making these memories. And it's great. Like, it's a great bit because it happens in real life. The kids' table kind of owns you until you have your own house and host your own Christmas party. You're pretty much there.
I love when they've made it to the adults table and they still sneak away and go back to the kids table because they have a better time.
That's right.
There.
Yeah. It's such a cool way to, like, that hit perfect for me. I got chills several times in this movie, but watching them at the kids' table brought back some really fun memories for me, for sure.
I think I want to point out real quick, and it dovetails on both of the things you guys were just talking about. This movie is a great example of, we talk about, like, when you talk about the Blumhouse movies now, so much of the formula is keep it to one location and, like, make that work for you. And so this is a relatively low budget movie. It's made by The Asylum, which mainly was known for schlocky horror movies, and now they're known for schlocky holiday movies. But, like, they basically have one set, and they get every drop of production value they can out of it, and they make a story that works by being in that set over and over and over again. I think that is clever low budget movie making writing.
Yep, it really was. Yeah, agree with that.
To the point where I don't know where they live. I don't like. They keep saying it's a small town, but I'm like, we live in a small town.
We know it's Illinois.
Yeah. That's right. That's all we know.
In a small town. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll talk about the wait what's and the lifetimes when we get back here on Deck the Hallmark. Welcome back to Deck the Hallmark, talking about Love at the Christmas Table, 2012 Lifetime mega hit, and Dan approved.
TV
exactly Christmas movie.
Put a stamp
exactly
on it.
Right.
That's right.
We're talking about the wait what's. We're the part of the show where we talk about what in this movie made us go wait what. Alonzo, many to be had by you?
A handful. It's funny. I will give this movie points for this also. There were a couple of times where I wrote down a wait what, and then the movie answered it. Like in the big dance sequence where he pulls down the mistletoe and puts it in his mouth like it's a rose for a tango thing or whatever. And I said, mistletoe in your mouth is not a good idea. And she immediately says, those are poisons. So like, okay, movie is on board.
Yeah.
When they're 18 and she goes into the kitchen where he's off, like, being all, Paul Rudd and clueless and reading a book and ignoring everybody. That is not a kitchen that has just made a Christmas dinner. That is way too clean. There should be like stacks of like gravy covered pots and pans in the sink. And I was like, no, nobody made a dinner in there.
Yep.
The big one though, I think, is like we kind of touched on, like when they have the major drag out blowout fight where they say all the terrible things. It really felt like they had not made any effort to let us know that those were things that were happening. And again, I think another 5 or 10 minutes of this movie would have maybe bridged that gap nicely.
I wrote down, I was going to propose, but instead here's a tight 5 on your dead mom. Like, I don't know how we got there. I get it. Like, she's staying away, but he had a ring in his pocket instead. He's like, and another thing.
When he said, and about your mom, I was like, no, don't do it.
Stay on the ombe.
Like, he stopped talking and she was like, no, tell me. And he's like, oh, no.
But
I'm like, it's a trap.
The other
it's
thing,
a trap.
The other thing,
don't do it.
Like, she is going to town on him about like 8 jobs in 6 years. You don't know what you want to do. Like, all fair. And he takes it, and he's like, all right, well, I've got a dead mom waiting on you. Like, it was brutal. Like, it was like, oh my goodness.
You go visit her grave too much.
Yeah. Like, I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe what I was watching there.
And to be fair, 8 jobs in 6 years, if you're in the media, is not unheard of.
How many? What's your biggest? What's your most in a stretch?
Ooh, man, I don't know. I'd have to go back and look, but believe me, websites die on you. Like, you just have to keep moving on, stuff like that. That in itself is not, the burn that she thinks it is. And again, I think the dead mom stuff would be valid if the movie had given us a hint of any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Like if any of the Scott Patterson scenes had been clear that, like, oh, he's into Leah Thompson, but he's got to take care of Danica. Like, this is all news to me.
Well, also, it would have made more sense, I think. Like, I think they did the fight to establish that she really never knew her mom. And they just forgot to do it along the way, or they cut it, right? Because it's an easy thing to add in the childhood scenes, and they never do it. If they just have a few of those moments where Leah Thompson is kind of mothering Danica McKellar, it works. But they didn't have any of that, and so it comes off very rude, very inappropriate.
Release the Goldenberg cut.
Yeah, that's right. Right now, I'll pay for that. Yeah, I'm on board.
It's not widescreen though, guys.
It is at 4:3. It's 4:3. Academy ratio.
You had all this time.
IMAX.
Oh gosh. Is it my turn? Are you good?
It is.
I don't have many. My biggest one, and I just take offense to this, Danica McKellar. It is, and I know
where you're going already.
I know you. There's an excuse for this, but I'm not gonna let it fly. She says they're talking about, they had a wonderful time on the 18th when they were 18 and it's Christmas, and he's like, let's do it again next year. Is it a tradition? And they go back and forth, and Danica says it's going to take 10 years to make a tradition.
That's crazy.
That is false. December rolls around and I'm like, well, let's create a tradition today. Like, it's just you decided to do it. Like, I know she might be saying it because, like, oh, I want to make sure he comes back, but no, 10 years. No, 10 years. Like
the Deck the Hallmark live stream marathon is a tradition.
That's right.
After 2 years. We've been told that, apparently. It's a tradition we have to do every year now. It's been 2 years. There's no way it takes 10 to start a tradition.
Nobody's got that kind of time. Come on.
Yeah. And then I think my only other what is the way that the proposal ended up happening. I want to know, like, so she, like, Leah Thompson's character gives her the keys. Was that always the plan?
Yeah, I don't understand that at all.
How is it maybe that's what the Hallmark, but how is it supposed to play out? Because she goes there and she's seeing everything. Like, was she always supposed to get the keys? Like, how did she know that my boy Sam was going to come running back? Like, there's so much
left up to chance.
But they still decorated it. They still made it look a lot fancier. So
I submit to you that if the proposal had gone off at the way he initially intended, what I assume he intended, at her shop with that creepy Norman Bates cardboard cutout of a house, this movie takes a nosedive. Like, that scene, like watching her follow the breadcrumbs of the same color crayon that matched her dress from 30 years ago down a path to a fully furnished cardboard house. That was next level creepy. And I'm thrilled that that's not where the proposal took place. And instead it's at the kids' table, because if it had been that, oh boy, I don't know how you recover from that. That was the most uneasy I was the whole movie.
You say Norman Bates, I'm sure they would argue Michelle Gondry.
Yeah, okay, yes, fair enough.
That's what they were going for.
You get that reference, right, Brandon?
She's the worst.
Michelle Gondry's a guy.
Didn't see it coming. Whoa!
You ever seen Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind?
I know the movie. I've never seen it.
That's he directed it.
Classic Michelle.
She's the worst. That's my favorite. You couldn't have done that better if you knew. That was perfect.
We don't write this stuff, y'all.
Yeah, we certainly don't.
Dano?
I've got a bunch, but the first scene of this movie has a wait what in it, and I caught it and rewound it, and Brand couldn't believe it. The first time that they see each other as adults, in the present day, he runs into her. She's carrying what appears to be a Christmas tree. It is not a Christmas tree.
It is not.
When you watch her, she goes and sets it down. There are no less than about a half a dozen very small branches all connected. There is no stump on that tree. It's just a bunch of branches that they've kind of wound together to look like a Christmas tree. It is one of the shoddiest pieces of that, and the snow in this movie is really bad. But that Christmas tree, look at the bottom of it. Holy cow, it's terrible. Like, it's so obvious. You have to go check it out. Go find it, check it out while you still have the rental on Prime. Go check it out. It's worth your time. Can we talk about the never aging gaggle of kids at the Christmas table every year?
It's like The Color Purple.
I don't understand. I understand that they invite friends, but at some point there's going to be age gaps. But every year there are about 6 kids that are around that 5 to 9 year old age that are there, and they look different every year.
And they never become teenagers.
Never. There's no teenagers in the house. It's like adults that had kids, babies, kids table, different group every year. It is, of all the things to spend money on, that's a lot of background actors that you just don't need in this movie. Hey, when you have a very old copy of Great Expectations, how you get a postcard out and write the title on it and stick it on the side of it? You guys know how that works, right? To make sure people know that it's Great Expectations. This is a very old copy. What gave it away? Was it the postcard, the 3x5 on the side? Is that what gave it away? There's one on the front and on the side of the binding of the book. We get it. Just say that it's Great Expectations.
We ran into a problem that we can't find that famous book anywhere.
Well, there's some dum-dums out there. We better put the title on it. What are we doing, guys? Just show an old book and say it's Great Expectations. We'll believe you. I promise.
You, exactly.
Let's talk about the guy.
There might be some podcast someday that says that's not Great Expectations. We got to make sure they know it.
That's The Sound and the Fury. I've seen that book before. Listen, can we talk about the guy that Danica takes out of the party to make other dude jealous? He is overacting the heck out of every scene he's in, but I'm just going to give this guy some credit, this character credit. My man drives a bicycle. I'm not talking motorbike. I'm talking bicycle, like Huffy bicycle. And he, with that bicycle, took a woman to Steak and Shake and asked her to marry him, and she said yes. He proposed. He took a woman on a manual bicycle to Steak and Shake.
Hop on the pegs. Hop on the pegs.
And she said yes. These are adults. What? How is that possible?
There's so many.
That's how you know you found the right one.
That's right. That's when you say it was always you.
That's right.
Is if you ride together on your tandem bike to Steak and Shake.
10 meals under $4 and you're still in?
And he proposes and you're like, I can't miss out on this lifetime right here. That's when you say it was always you.
I love Steak and Shake.
But you know what? You get what you pay for there, because she shows her ring and says, it's gangster, right? Boy, they were meant to be together.
It's gangster.
There's no doubt about that.
That's the kind of woman you propose to at a Steak and Shake.
That's right. The best friend, Danica McKellar's best friend in this movie, is kind of the worst, isn't she? Like, she basically, the night he ends up proposing, she, not to distract him or get him out of the house, she just looks at him and goes, she's been over you for years. And we don't ever get an explanation as to why she would say that to him.
Right.
I don't understand that. She's just kind of the worst person.
Yeah.
Like, right?
She's still mad about prom.
Apparently.
With the tractor?
The tractor I don't get at all. I don't know. I just don't know. And then lastly, they give each other a hard time about not knowing what the other person does. Like, what do I write? What do I do at the newspaper? What I write? Have you ever read any of my works? And by my math, it's like 2009. And I don't understand how your best friend from childhood, Facebook has been around for 4 or 5 years at this point. It's available to everyone, that you've not kept in touch at all. Like, you don't. That was a tough stretch for me. That these people,
their dads work together.
Best friends.
How do you not? Yeah, how do you not have an occasional conversation of, oh well, she's down at the mill now making furniture.
Yeah.
Oh well, he's writing about the the World Economic Fund. Like that they're so aggressively not interested in each other is a moment along the way where you're like, maybe you shouldn't be.
Yeah, maybe not. And I would. That's where I was with that. I didn't understand how in 2009 that's possible at all.
But he does know how often she goes to the old cemetery.
Yeah.
One too many.
He calls up his dad and he's like, how often is she going to the cemetery? I don't want to know anything else. Just that.
Just tell me one thing. Just tell me one thing. You good?
Yeah.
It's time for What the Hallmark Lifetime. It's where we share any questions that we still have that would help give some clarity to anything we still want to know about. Alonzo?
I want the making a video of that cardboard house because creepy or enchanting, that took a lot of effort.
Yes.
And and how like he managed to do that at her place of work without her knowing about it. Like it left me with so many questions about how we were supposed to buy in its existence and him doing it. So I think there's a whole other BTS video there where they can kind of behind the scenes, not the Korean pop band.
Yeah, no. Well, there could be that too. You never know.
They actually give the tour.
Why not? I'm not going to say no. But yeah, that's a better question.
Mine kind of piggybacks on that one, which is why did he choose as their house for him to buy a haunted house? Why he's going to buy a house for the love of his life, and he chose a haunted house. I'm pretty sure
in the boonies of New York.
Yeah, that's where Pennywise is from. Yeah. Like that is the same house. Why? Like,
if you look in the corner, there's a little red balloon. You gotta squint, you'll see it.
He that's why he made the cardboard one to kind of like soften the blow of guess where we're living. I didn't understand that at all. Like, make it look just a little nicer in the picture, baby.
Yeah. My question is, does EB still decorate for Christmas each year?
Well,
I was a little, my heart hurt a little bit because it's still Christmas Eve. Like, you don't have to unplug it yet. Still Christmas Eve. So that does lead me to believe that she doesn't continue to decorate. But
I got to be honest, that scene kind of saved the last act for me. Weirdly enough, like her doing that and it rolling credits was not only the perfect ending to a TV movie, but also this like very symbolic gesture that like, hey, like it's not just about the lights and everything else. Like it's about finding something more valuable. And I don't know. That's like, we don't get, and also like that's something that happens in actual movies. They try to get you with a scene, and Denis Villeneuve is very, very famous for like having this scene that's not necessarily a twist, but it's supposed to make you think for forever. And then that doesn't happen in Christmas movies, right? That doesn't happen in Hallmark movies. And so it really worked for me. Like it worked because I just wasn't ready for it. But yeah, I'm interested to see if she still does the big shindig.
We all are.
I give her 6 months and she becomes the Halloween lady.
I love it.
We did it, everybody. Congratulations. Very excited. Alonzo, thank you so much for joining us once again.
Thank you, Jim.
Always fun. We're going to be back next week, but also tomorrow and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. So really, whatever tickles your fancy, listen wherever, watch on the YouTubes, however you decide to take this all in. Thank you for doing so.
Next week, it's a movie you referenced on last Tuesday's podcast. It's The Christmas Switch.
It's the Christmas
Switch, 2018.
It's a Christmas Switch. So we're looking forward to that. Until then, may we be the first to wish you a Merry Christmas.